Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today the time has come to finally finish discussing Season 9. We're going to talk about how it should have gone. I listen, I hear it, gone. It not should have went. I don't know what a past participle is, but apparently I've been saying it wrong. How Season 9 should have gone. So, in this video, we're going to break down every episode, go through the placements, and kind of discuss what would have happened if the season was not rigged. You guys know the gist at this point. So they say that size doesn't matter, but if I'm a drag queen, would you want to see me perform in these or in these? Exactly. Well, today's video sponsor, Morgan & Morgan, knows a lot about size because they are America's largest injury law firm. They have over 800 attorneys in 49 states, Rhode Island. And the best part is there are no upfront fees. You only pay if they win you your case. You can check out the link here and in the description below to get a free consultation with a Morgan & Morgan attorney today. So thank you so much, Morgan & Morgan, for sponsoring today's video. So we can just dive right on in to discussing episode 1, which was the Oh My Gaga Runway Challenge. So as we know, there were no bottoms in this episode. There was just a top 3, and then they chose the winner. And like we kind of discussed in the Riggory of Season 9 video, a lot of the queens had one really good look. And then their other look would be kind of meh, like there was something wrong with it. And these, I think, were the top 3 of the episode. And I think they were the ones that both of their looks were solid. Eureka, the first look was camp. The second look was very high fashion and clean. Sasha Velour, the first one was very, high concept, high fashion. And then the Gaga runway was also, just the perfect look she could have picked for herself. It is, exactly what Sasha Velour as Lady Gaga I would picture. So it was a really smart choice. But Nina Bonina managed to have 2 very clean looks that told kind of 2 sides of the same coin. There is the fun, campy, cutesy peach look, which shows off her painting of the paper that she does and really just shows the first side of Nina, and then the other side of Nina, which is this sex pot, huge hips, huge boobs, and took the Lady Gaga look and recreated it for the most part, but at the same time made it her own by, instead of having this long straight gown, instead makes it kind of like bodysuit. So I think Nina really managed to show off exactly who she was in this challenge, which really is what you want to do in the first episode. So I don't think there's any riggory here. And we can move on to the cheerleading challenge, where also I don't see any riggory. You know, I know everyone loves James Mansfield. I do as well. But she really was kind of timid and shy in the challenge. Some of those tumbles were a little rough. Kimora Blac, I definitely think, faded into the background. Her runway was not giving white party. Charlie Hides, same thing. And then the top 3, Valentina, Trinity, and Shea, they were their characters. They all were given an adjective to describe who they were, and all 3 of them hit that out of the park. You knew exactly who they were, the kind of girl that they were, and they didn't necessarily need to be doing all the best stunts in the world as long as they had that personality showing. And I think they all really did a solid job. Another episode without any riggory, if you ask me. But here for the Princess Design Challenge, I did switch up a couple of things. So, well, one specific thing. So the bottom 3, I think, is completely valid. Kimora Blac, I think her look for the Funky Monkey, whatever it is, was really stunning. But half the challenge was to make a fun character and perform it on the runway, and hers was by far the worst of all. And then Aja, I think she had a good idea, but the look itself and the makeup was just so bad. And then Pheromone in the low position, she had a fine look, but it was just way too basic for a design challenge. And her character that she made was just kind of lackluster as well. So I think that was the correct bottom 3. But for the top 3, this is the episode where Valentina gets called out by Aja for going on the stage in a fucking diaper, and the judges will eat it up. Valentina, your smile is beautiful, all of that. And I don't think that was unwarranted in this specific instance because Valentina's look was clean and she was very cute and she had a cute little character, but I just don't think she pushed the look or the character as far as she could have. It was very generic. You know, it was very just like what you would expect from a princess. She's a pretty little pixie princess. And the look itself is just a bodysuit. Whereas I think there's a couple queens that could be in this high position over her. I chose Charlie Hides because I think story purposes, it would be nice to see Charlie in the top before she gets eliminated in the next episode. But I also think she had a good character. It was a cool concept. The gown itself is stunning and all of these embellishments that she added to it, I think all are very stunning. But you could put Shea Coulee here. You could put, Eureka did a funny job in the character department, whereas the dress was just, fine. There were a couple people who could go here. And if you say Sasha Velour, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say check your bias. That was a bed sheet wrapped around her body. But a lovely concept nonetheless. I chose Charlie. I think she had a really, really good look. Peppermint had a stunning look. This is one of my favorite Peppermint looks of the season, and it's not even one that she brought. She made this. I think she looks so good, and it was such a really fun concept. But Trinity the Tuck, she made a reveal. She made this incredible headpiece. She had the funniest, by far, companion, and the storyline that she made between both characters, I think was just, she knocked it out of the park. Nobody else, I think, came close to Trinity the Tuck in this challenge. Everything else checks out. Kimora Blac goes home, and we move on to the morning show challenge, where I, again, think there was a little bit of riggory going on. I think that you very easily could just say, team Alexis and Farrah and Sasha and Shea and Valentina and Aja, you're all safe because the other team was just such a train wreck. But at the same time, I do think Aja and Valentina definitely got a pass here because they were not good at all. They were very, very bad. But the rest of their team did really good. The whole team would be high, but I just put Pheromone here because I think she did a really good job. I think she did the third best on that team. So nothing in the tops is rigged, but for the bottoms, I don't think that Trinity necessarily deserved bottom 2. I think that there is some fault to be had on her as team leader for things kind of going amok. But when it came to her performance, there were not as many issues with hers as there were with Peppermint. Peppermint, I think, in the runway and on the challenge, did a worse job than Trinity. Trinity, her character was unlikable in the morning show challenge, and the concept that they made really just was not fit for that kind of environment of morning television. But she never stumbled her words. She never really, did anything necessarily wrong except for the ending where Charlie Hides, steps in when Miss Queen, that we all miss very much, Naya Rivera, was there. But I just don't think Trinity made as many missteps. Her runway, absolutely stunning, whereas Peppermint had, I think, the worst runway of this entire episode and kept stumbling over her words the entire time she was being the anchor, the main anchor with Trinity. So I just think Peppermint, there were more mistakes there, and sure, maybe more fault for the whole thing being an issue can be put on Trinity, but when it comes to individual performances, I really think Peppermint should have been bottom 2 here, and it really wouldn't have mattered. It still would have been the same outcome of Charlie Hyde standing there doing absolutely nothing because she shit herself, she broke a rib, her foot hurt, diarrhea, all these things going on at once. It was a tough day for Charlie. But I think it would have been iconic to see Peppermint do I Wanna Go, since we saw her annihilate another Britney song in the finale. So, yeah, nothing really changes, but I do think the bottom 2 placements here could have been, and maybe should have been, swapped. Okay, we have Kardashian, the Rusical, and I don't think it's that controversial yet, Brave. I know it's kind of, it's not 50-50 split between Alexis and Shea for who should have won this challenge, because I ran the poll, and Shea definitely won it. I, get messages like, well, Jinx won challenges that she had a horrible look for. But when Jinx won those challenges, she was very clearly the winner of the challenge. Whereas in this case, I do think Shea and Alexis both did an amazing job in the challenge. And then I look to the runways in those instances to break the tie. And in this case, Shea just had a much better look. So I don't think it was rigged that Shea won. I think I wouldn't have been upset if Alexis won either, but I don't think that it was necessarily like her win that she was robbed from. And then Peppermint also in the top with a nice little recovery from the week prior, again because of Brittany. She does a really funny Brittany in the performance, and this is a much better runway for her than we've seen in the last couple of episodes. But for the low position, they put Nina Bonina Brown. And I really think that was just for storyline because she was being a brat about getting that role. Actually, I would put Aja here. I think that you completely lose Aja in the performance. She really doesn't give any type of character. And I'm not saying Nina did amazing, but Nina, I think, gave a little bit more in the performance than Aja did, and also had a much, much, much better runway than than Aja did. Aja's is, very minimal. It's cute for a number, maybe not for the RuPaul's Drag Race main stage, whereas Nina Bonina doing this Mary J. Blige fantasy, I get the reference. I get exactly what she's going for. It's done very cleanly, but also in the style of Nina Bonina Brown. I think Nina fully was safe in this episode. Maybe the lower end of safe, but safe. And then you have the bottom two lip sync between Cynthia and Farrah, but it really doesn't matter because Eureka is sent home for the injury. I also did a video a while back on what if Eureka never broke her ankle? What if her ankle never went cleek? And I'll put that up in the corner because it kind of shows this season if Eureka didn't leave. But also, not that anyone asked, I think Pheromone won this lip sync against Cynthia, but that's just my opinion. So we can move on to the Snatch game, where I don't think anything was rigged. Everything made sense. This was a really solid Snatch game, I think, because usually I think a lot of the safe performances in Snatch game are safe because they're forgettable, but there was some really good safe performances, like Valentina, like Shea Coulee, like Trinity the Tuck, and you could have maybe put any of them in the top, in the high spots, but I think that Nina and Sasha did a really solid job, and it makes sense to me for them to be in the top here, especially storyline-wise for Nina Bonina Brown, since, she's kind of been having a struggle bus when it comes to her emotions and her relationships with the other girls. So this was a really nice kind of final top-tier moment for Nina. I think it was nice to see her in the top. We see Cynthia sashay away, get obliterated by Peppermint in one of my favorite lip syncs to Music by Madonna. And we can move on to episode 7, which is the 9021 Ho. And I don't think anything is rigged. The bottom two was very clearly the bottom two, Aja and Nina, with Aja sashaying away. Although I do think it was a double Shantae worthy lip sync if they wanted to do that. But Trinity, this was a standout moment for Trinity, who had kind of been sort of fading into the background since her first win. This was the moment where she re-emerged as a huge threat. And I also think this was a great episode for Pheromone. As you can see, there's no low placement here. They did have Sasha Velour as the low placement, but I think that was just kind of someone needs to be there, and Sasha was the least great of all the people who did great. But I think Sasha did great, and you don't have to have a low placement. I think that this was a challenge that a lot of people did really well, so why not we just highlight someone else instead of giving someone a low placement where they really didn't deserve it. And this was Sasha's only low or bottom placement, and I don't even think she deserved it. So for me, I think put Pheromone in the top, have 3 people in the high spot, give Trinity the win. I think it's a great moment for Pheromone. Again, kind of like Nina, where she's about to be on a downward trajectory. So giving her this high spot and being like, you did really well. You were really funny as the whiny daughter of Trinity's character. They both played off each other so well. Pheromone understood the assignment, and I think this was her strongest week of the competition, this and the morning show. So we can move on to the roast, where again, I don't see any riggory whatsoever. Pheromone sachets away. We can look at the TV pilots, where there's no riggory here. Everything is very fair. We get Valentina's iconic moment where she doesn't know the words, and kind of loses all of the momentum she had built up in the first 8 episodes. So we can move on to the makeovers, where there's only a slight change, because I think Peppermint 1000% should have been bottom 3 over Alexis Michelle. Sure, Alexis Michelle's looks were basic. It's very reminiscent of her entrance look, but they are different. But, I mean, I see the resemblance. The makeup is clean. The body is clean. I definitely think she did a solid job. A safe job, but a solid one. Whereas Peppermint, the makeup was kind of a little off. The looks were not good. And the only thing I think that really saved her from the bottom was Wintergreen's personality. But really, that had nothing to do with Peppermint. You know what I mean? She really just lucked out with a great, great partner. But Shea Coulee, there were just some runway issues. The wig was flopping all over the place. Those things just can't fly on a runway, especially this close to the end. And then we also get the iconic moment of Shea versus Nina, which we all thought was going to be a lip sync smackdown for the ages, and really it was one of the most disappointing lip syncs of the season in a season of disappointing lip syncs. But we can also look at Sasha and Trinity. I did put Alexis as high, but she could also just be safe here. A lot of people think Sasha deserved to win. A lot of people think Trinity deserved to win. I think either of them could have won. I do think Trinity had a better runway presentation. Like, it was more fun. They did more stuff. And I do think that Sasha kind of made the fatal flaw of putting her makeover partner in a worse look. Like, the look is very baggy. It doesn't give her makeover partner a shape at all. And Sasha is, cinched, stunning. I think that that's kind of what tips the favor for me for Trinity. But if Sasha won, I wouldn't have thought it was rigged either. I think they both did a really, really good job. It's just the little details I think Trinity definitely just nailed a little bit better. And then we are at the final 5, the gay ball. And I, again, don't disagree with anything. I think that Trinity should have been high instead of low. I think her rainbow look is a very underrated look. I really love her rainbow look, and I feel like it's a look that no one talks about. Her unicorn look was super, super cute. And then what she did with the police officer was, good. It was fine. It looked police officer. It also gave Trinity, and I think she did a good job. Now, again, a lot of people think Sasha could have won this episode, and I agree somewhat, but a little less somewhat than, the makeover. I think the main argument is that Shea Coulee's rainbow look was not rainbow, which I do agree with, but I think that's the only knock against Shea in this entire ball. The rainbow look itself, even if it's not rainbow, I still think it's absolutely stunning. The unicorn, I think, is maybe a little bit on the safer side, but it has a perspective. It has an idea. She's not just giving unicorn. She's giving, bondage unicorn, and it's hot. And then her construction look is just, it's so good. It's such a simple concept, but it just works so well. And there's so many little details, like the turban underneath the hard hat, and the flannel collar, and the part of the shirt that's connected to it's every detail is so meticulously made, and I think it's just one of the best design looks of all time. If we look at Sasha, her rainbow look, I like it, but it again is kind of on the safe side. I wish she would have gone a little bit bigger. I do like the concept of having the gay house under her hat. That was really, really cute. But at the end of the day, it's a sweater and a pencil skirt. Her unicorn is, I think, hands down the number 1 look of this ball. It is so stunning. There's so much detail in the design of this dress. The horn with the blood on it. It is so good. It might be my favorite Sasha look of this entire season. But then if we look at the design look, which I think carries the most weight in a ball, I would say, if we're giving out points, 5 points for the first look, 5 points for the second look, and 10 points for the third look, I think she falls short. I think she definitely falls short. I'm not a fan of this look. I'm not a fan of the hair with it. I like the hat, but it's all just one pattern, and it's literally just a shirt that ties in the back and another pencil skirt. I am not a fan of this look at all. So while I think her first 2 looks were strong, I think the third look kind of brings her average down a little bit. And since it is the most important look of the ball, I think that is what cost her the win here. If she had done something like epic for this third look, I think she could have taken the win over Shea Coulee. But this is what we got, and so I don't think it was rigged that Shea Coulee won. And then we're at top 4. You know, they do Category Is, one of my favorite songs from the show ever. I love all 4 verses, even Trinity's, and I think it made sense that they all moved on to the finale, where there's no riggory. So, as you can see, this is kind of a short video because I don't think this is a super rigged season. I think that the elimination order was 1000% correct, even if, you know, a placement here or a placement there should have been switched around. You know, someone could have been lip syncing who wasn't, but still, it doesn't factor into who goes home. So, that's kind of it. But there is a part 2 to this video because I asked you guys on Instagram what you think was the most rigged moment of this season. So we're going to go through all of those moments. Not all of them. There's way too many. But we're gonna talk about some. And we'll talk about if I agree with it, if I disagree with it. We'll get through all the tea. So let's go over to IRL in-person Derek to do all of that. So I asked you guys what was the number 1 most rigged moment of season 9. These are some of your responses. And I realize some of these I've already kind of discussed in the video itself. So we are just going to skip some of these. Peppermint being allowed to make the finale. I think if it comes down to that Category Is episode, and if they were gonna have to cut someone, Peppermint didn't deserve to be cut. I mean, I guess you could say Trinity had the worst verse of the 4. So then it's kind of like, why would we cut anyone? Peppermint did such a good job in that Category Is. Like, if you're gonna have a challenge, it might as well count. And Peppermint ate, so I don't think it's rigged. Let's see. Nina and Tina should have been safe. Oh, the train wreck. No! I mean, the only other person I could see potentially being in the bottom is Alexis because she faded into the background. But they had a really solid idea for their pilot, and I just don't think that they deserve to be in the bottom. Nina and Tina were, in my opinion, by far the worst. Even if it was funny, it was, like, cringy funny. Like, you were laughing at them, not with them. Valentina being in the top for the Princess Challenge. Charlie, Shea, Sasha, and Eureka, and even Nina had much better looks. I agree with all those except Sasha. Sasha's was a bed sheet, but yeah, I agreed with that in the video. Aja being in the bottom over Farrah in episode 2. I think that while I agree that Aja put a lot more effort into her dress, like the Disasterina. No, that's Dragula. Princess Disaster. I think she put more effort into it. I just don't think it came together at all, and I don't think that her like little character was good enough to save her from bottom 2. Whereas Farrah's was basic, but it wasn't ugly. Season felt safe overall. Yeah. Nina and Shea lip sync, but she's deserved to stay either way. Shea and Nina lip sync. Like Shea should have like gone home. Cynthia's chair. Oh my gosh, send help. Shea winning the ball, I put my thoughts on that in the video. Some Alexis Rusical things. Pheromone and Cynthia not getting a double sachet. I mean, yes, but at the same time, I do think Farrah did fine. Like, fine enough. Where if it was going to be, like, someone was going home, it would have been Cynthia. Aja versus Nina not being a double Shantae. I do agree with that. But I think that they just didn't give a shit about Aja. Aja was not performing at the top of their game for a long time now. So it was kind of like, why would we waste a double Shantae on someone who we don't see having any winner potential? Because if you're going to do that big double Shantae moment, it needs to matter. And I genuinely think Aja would have gone home probably the next episode. Season 9 was fair. Pheromone should have been bottom 2 in the episode where Kimora was sent home. Okay, we talked about that. Blac Chyna, of course, there's going to be a lot of Blac Chyna. Sasha. I feel like a lot of these things are kind of... Oh my goodness, what's going on? Or kind of what I've already been touching on. Pretty fair season. Nina not being Blac Chyna, obviously. Charlie not winning the lip sync. Sis slayed it. Please. No one telling Alexis her dress was basic. Rude. James losing the lip sync. Okay, James versus Kimora. I definitely think it was close, but I feel like James was kind of playing her kind of like floozy, ditzy, like airhead character for it, while Kimora was doing more like sex pot stuff. I mean, they were both just kind of doing what they normally do. They weren't necessarily getting like the campy vibes of the song down. So I guess I preferred Kimora's, but I don't think it was like a slam dunk. Like if James would have won, I wouldn't have been like, oh my god. But at that point, Kimora was. I mean, neither of them had been doing great in the first 2 episodes, but Kimora was just more polished, so I get why they would get rid of James first. The fact that they let Valentina attempt that lip sync 4 times, even though it wasn't aired, I've never heard that. I would like to hear your sources. Trinity winning this Princess Sewing Challenge, that one seems like such an obvious win to me. I don't know. It's weird how, like, something that you just see as, like, a slam dunk in your head, someone else can be like, no. Like, it just shows that there is a lot of subjectivity into what goes into this show. But every now and again I see something like this where I'm like, oh, okay, I very, very heavily disagree. But go off. You're allowed to have your opinion there. How James Mansfield never stood a chance against production. I mean, yes, but I just don't think James, like, obviously we all know James is like an iconic queen and she's come so far since season 9, but on season 9 she just wasn't giving. So if I were production, I would be like, scram too, you know what I mean? Alexis being low anytime, yeah, I disagreed with a couple of those and I changed them for sure. Cuckoo not being top 4 when they kept Cynthia for no reason, meaning they couldn't give the double win to Nina and Aja. Yeah, I mean, if they, let's say they got rid of Cynthia Lee Fontaine after the Woman Up lip sync, and then Eureka also got, like, you know, eliminated, then they could have feasibly kept both Nina and Aja in their lip sync, but again, I just don't think that they cared enough about Aja to do that, so. The lip sync for the crown, they just didn't want to crown Shea for no reason. I disagree. I think they would have 1000% crowned Shea. I think the production obviously has loved Shea since her original season, but we all know by now that the lip sync for the crown was because the lip syncs on the season were gutter trash, and so many people didn't try. So to kind of give them this, like, the audience this big moment with huge, you know, iconic lip syncs at the finale was like making up for it, and Shea just didn't deliver. So I don't think it was rigged against Shea. I think if Shea did a good job, that they would have 1000% crowned her, but she didn't. And she instead just came back to slay All Stars 5 and 7, so it's fine. No riggory, fantastic season. It's kind of how I feel. I mean, there's like a couple little things, but it's nothing, like, insane. All of Trinity's challenge wins, the bias is showing, my dear. Yeah, I mean, I'm scrolling through a lot of these, and you guys sent a lot, as you can see. Like, a lot. But I generally just think there wasn't a ton of riggory to be had in this season, and, you know, even searching through all of these, there wasn't a ton of points that I didn't already make. So I think that kind of does it. Season 9 was not really that rigged. At least the elimination order was not rigged, and it's one of the best seasons of Drag Race ever, in my opinion. So is there a correlation there? I don't know. But I'll go back to microphone only Derek to do the little outro. Cool. Bye. So I think that is all of season 9 dissected and then put back together. I really think this was a really solid season. Not rigged at all. I hope you guys enjoyed this little deep dive into season 9 that is finally complete. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think I should cover season 8? Because on paper, in my head, I really don't think of anything that's that rigged. I can't think of anything that's, like, super, like, upsetting, except maybe, like, a kimchi placement here or there. So let me know if you think we should do season 8, or if we should skip over and do season 7, which is very rigged, very highly, the riggory is everywhere, and then we can go from there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you so much to my patrons. And if you're not following me on Instagram, now would be the best time, because we are doing a tournament to determine who is the #1 queen of the UK. Voting for that started yesterday. Every day on my Instagram story, we will be having these polls until we figure out the ultimate winner. And if you guys like this, which right off the bat we're getting so many votes, I think we might do this for some other franchises as well. So make sure you're following me on Instagram for that. And obviously my Twitter, all my social media links are up here. Get your friends some nice Drag Detective merch for Christmas. We're going to be doing a Black Friday sale coming up soon, so be on the lookout for that. And that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.